Welcome to the Sleepy G Show. I'm your host, or your most. My name is Gomez, and tonight, like every night on the show, we have a very special guest. I'd like to welcome John Michael Ferrari. John, how are you today?
We're doing very well. I'm in the lobby of the Iris Hotel here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Ooh, Nashville is one of my favorite spots. I'm not gonna lie.
We
I've
were
been to.
just down at where were we? We were just down at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Oh, nice. I last time I went to Nashville, I stayed at the Grand Ole Opry, and
Oh,
so I had a good time there. I was down there for a convention many years ago, but I enjoyed every minute of it. It was one of those things that I love doing, and I love going down to Nashville as much as I can. You know what I mean?
did you go down into actually go into the Opry?
Yes, I actually stayed in the hotel. I got to do a lot of good stuff in there, so it was one of those things that I was able to enjoy. You know what I mean?
We got to go to the Opry, and if you look as far as you can see at the back of the Opry, where it's like 3 stories high, that's where we were.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I actually got to enjoy it, and it was really good. And it's one of those things that you just gotta go down there and see it.
Yeah.
So you actually are a little bit like an icon, but also you have served time in the military during the Vietnam War. And and I gotta say thank you for your services, sir.
Thank you.
That's something I gotta say that you had a different lifestyle than everybody else. And then, and at the age of 15, you're in the children's home for Nevada State. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I've done my little research on you, sir. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I like to get to know my guest a little bit. How was that, going into a children's state home at age 15 and then a couple years later joining for a Vietnam to go into the Vietnam War and joining the services?
Well, I thought going to the children's home, Carson City Children's Home, was a lifesaver for me. I was first introduced to the system when I was about 11 years old,
Oh,
and I
wow.
spent in a juvenile hall in San Francisco. So
Oh,
you kind of get programmed for that. My childhood life was up and down, it was sporadic, a lot of turbulence. And going to the children's home, Carson City Children's Home, was really a good thing for me because I was there with other children who were like me that didn't have a very good childhood. And some of the kids lost their parents, and for whatever reason, they were there, became a ward of the state. And it was really a positive experience for me.
and that's a good thing. Like for me, my lifestyle changed because of my coach. So when I was playing football, he really became more of a not like a drill instructor almost, but I actually almost was, but he pushed me to go harder in the sport than I ever thought I could ever be. So I wouldn't say I was a delinquent, but I got myself into trouble here and there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Boys would be boys, but then you found yourself in the entertainment business as a songwriter and composer and writing a lot of music jingles. Like, how did you get into it after the war and everything? Or is that something you always love to do?
Well, I got into music actually when I was about 8 years old. I
Okay.
started on my first guitar and started plunking around with it. By the time I got into high school, I joined a high school band. There was a guy for a couple other guys, and they were looking for somebody to play lead and sing, and I could do that. So I joined the band, and that's what we did. We played Civic Auditorium and all around Reno and Lake Tahoe and Carson City. We played a lot of little places. So that was a good introduction for me as far as becoming acquainted with music, and it was a way to become popular too.
Well, for me, this is like me. Like I'm only 2 years into my own podcasting, you know what I mean? That's something I enjoy as much as like you do music, you know what I mean? And to me, guys like you is always an honor because everyone has a great story to tell how they got into it. Like with your musical career, what were some of your musical influences growing up?
Well, I remember as a child watching an old black and white movie. It was about Al Jolson. I don't know if you ever heard of Al
I've
Jolson.
heard of them.
He was an old crooner at the turn of the century. And he was like Elvis back then. I mean, he'd sing and dance and move around a lot. And I just liked what he was doing. And I thought that seems interesting. And then more up to date currently, there was Sinatra and there was Sammy Davis Jr. and
Mm-hmm.
all those crooners. And I enjoyed that. And growing up around casinos and being able to go in and sneak in occasionally and watch the lounges, I
Mm-hmm.
could see that they had entertainment. It wasn't just music, it was entertainment. People went in and they sat down and they were thoroughly entertained. They didn't just sing a song, they performed a song and they'd tell stories and they would be funny. And I thought that's what I want to do. And that's what I tried to learn how to do. Unfortunately, we don't have that venue available for all new young artists today where they can go into an atmosphere and get
Mm-hmm.
paid and learn their craft.
Right.
Now, here in Nashville, most everybody plays for free, except if you're downtown, you get a little money, but they pass a tip jar around. But when I grew up around the Bay Area, also the Bay Area, I could play all the small steakhouses and I could make money and I could pay my rent, drive my car. And it
Right.
was good living and it was a good experience to learn your craft.
And that's something I respect because again, like you said, there's not really those small places anymore. Here, especially here in New Jersey, we do have a lot of actually, I'm gonna say in New Jersey, we do have a lot of like local bars, um, and breweries that I normally go to that will host like an acoustic set, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something I truly enjoy is the acoustic side to it because I've never learned how to play guitar. But for some reason, when I hear acoustic music, I get into a daze. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's something that I take pleasure into the music, and listening. And I never played in a band or anything. I had friends who did, and in many years I followed them and been kind of their mini roadie too on top of it. I had the honor of hearing a lot of great songs and meeting a lot of great people, and you know, it's just a shame how what it's coming down to these days. It's hard for young people to get into the craft. It's always, it's like the Taylor Swifts or the Jason Aldeans and
Right.
all these guys. Like I feel like the craft of making it the I guess the long and hard way is like gone. Now it's everyone's going for that short way. Skip to the recording studio and not really make a name for yourself. You know what I mean?
Well, what they have now is American Idol. What's the other show? The Voice.
American Got Talent, Voice too.
And they get people who they come on and do fabulous one or two songs, but they're not experienced. They
No.
don't have the experience. They haven't paid their dues, working their way up to get to the point where they can play large performances and venues. And these young new people who get on TV and make it through a contest, all of a sudden thrust out in the world, are expected to know how to perform and how to keep an audience. And, it ends up kind of a disaster for many of them.
Well,
You
no,
got,
and I fully agree on that.
yeah,
I used to watch American Idol when it first came out, and the only one that I've listened to, there's only two or three that I still listen to this day. Kelly Clarkson being one of them,
yeah,
and Carrie Underwood was the other one. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And both ladies have amazing voices. And when I first heard their auditions when it came out, I was like, wow, these two probably ever going to win their respectful shows. You know what I mean? And that's something I think they took their career and they did it correctly. They worked their butts off on that show, but I think they were working it before their shows started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, somebody worked with them. They had a good manager, or their parents, or somebody was.
Yeah. So I mean, it's always, and that's another thing. You know what I mean? You got to have a good representation. It's not easy to find that either. I've learned that not even just through my friends, but also like sports wise. I've known a few of my friends who have gone to college to play bigger sports, and they've talked to sports agents and stuff. And that's something I always said, oh God, I would love to be, but it would never happen for me. I said one day, uh, but I'm happy who I am and what I do. But also, you've done a little bit of photography too. I heard. Um,
Yeah, there was a point where in my career where I just came off touring the
mhm,
country, I came home and I told my manager, I said, I'm done. I'm done with performing. I'm done with music and traveling. I just was tired with it. And she suggested, well, you should get into writing more of your own songs because she always thought I was a good songwriter.
Hmm.
And I thought, yeah, I need a break. So I got into photography. I had a lot of friends that were actors and models. So it was fun. I called up a couple of my friends and said, I'm taking up photography, would you let me take pictures of you? And most all of them said, sure. And they'd come over for the first year. I took everybody's picture for free, didn't charge anybody.
Hmm.
And all my friends. And then it got to the point where I was really good. And I bought a lot of good equipment and did that for a few years and I enjoyed it. And then I slowly got back into writing songs. And the big change came when we came to Nashville and recorded our first songs. And this is about when the COVID was starting to hit.
Right.
And we had our songs, we recorded them in the studio. And there was a big gap in the music industry because all the major artists pulled all their material. They weren't putting anything new. They weren't going on tour, and there wasn't anything. So there was a void in the
Hmm.
radio stations. And right at that moment, they were looking for some new artists so they could fill the airtime and stuff. And they came across my songs because our radio promoter was promoting our songs, and they heard our song, and within a few months, we were on the national charts.
Nice.
And we were at the very bottom. What was it, 198 or something like that?
Out of a 200
Out of
chart.
200. But we were on there with Elton John, Taylor Swift, and all these other people. They were at the top. We were at the bottom. But we were so excited just to be there on the bottom on the chart with this.
Hmm.
And each week it started going up, and it made it all the way to number two. And we said, wow, this is amazing. And that introduced us and also introduced the industry to us. So then when we put our next song out, they were already familiar with who we were.
Right.
It made it a little bit easier. And then each song came out and got on the charts. And finally, now when we put something out there, it just kind of makes its way around the world, And Pepper, she's sitting right next to me.
Hmm.
She makes all that happen. She makes connections with people and she talks to people and it takes a effort there. She is.
How you doing, Pepper? How are you?
So, and that's how you having a good producer and a manager, that helps as an artist. And that's one thing a lot of artists don't have. And
Hmm.
I would feel sorry for people who go into the recording studio and don't have a producer with them because it's an overwhelming experience. There's a lot to think about. But
Hmm.
when you have a producer, they take care of all that. All that is taken care of. All you have to do is go in there and basically sing your song because
Right.
you're taken care of up to that point. And then comes the point where somebody has to promote it. You have to put some money out. It costs money. When you sign with a record label, they put up hundreds of thousands of dollars and
Hmm.
sometimes millions of dollars to promote you. And you have to pay that back.
Oh,
As an
wow.
artist, you have to
See,
pay it back.
I never knew that part of the business. Again, as a, I guess, freelance podcaster and keyword free, um, it's kind of funny. You don't realize what goes into the music business. Everyone thinks I get a check and that's it. You know what I mean? I get to sing my songs and I get paid for it and I get the royalties. But there's more to it. Like you just said, I never knew you had to pay some of that money back either. That's something I
Oh,
just learned.
and if you don't pay it back, you lose the rights to your songs. They
Oh,
they have the
wow.
right, and they can do whatever they want with you. And also, when you sign with a label, you have very little of what you want to do,
Mhm.
control over what you want to do. You may not like a particular song, but you're made to sing that song, or you may not like the arrangement, but that's too bad. You're going to sing it the way they want you to sing it because they put all that money into you, and you have to do what they tell you to do. As an independent artist, we can put a goat on our cover if we want to, as we did. We put a goat. Says we need something for the cover, and I said, "Oh, let's put a goat on there." That's a great idea.
Be the smile on your
Be the
face.
smile on your face. There's a
You know
goat,
that that's actually a great idea. You know what I mean?
you know. So, but if you're signed with the record label, you can never get away with that. So you have a lot of freedom as an independent artist, but you don't have the backing of a big industry.
Yeah.
So, as an independent artist, your startup is like starting up a business. You have to have enough money, in the coffers to put money out there to promote yourself.
Mhm. That's like the same thing as like I'm doing as an independent podcaster, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I don't have a backing. I don't have a backer. I don't have a sponsorship. I don't have a label to sign to. I have a great example. I have an event coming up soon. It's a live event. It's going to be my first one ever, and I'm doing it for free.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
One day when you get sponsors, they will dictate what you can do and what you can't do on your show.
And that's something, I as much as it's like I really want their money to put into the show, but also I feel the creativity will go away for what I do.
Well, there's a give and take. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. You have good
Negotiating.
sponsors, and they may like what you're doing. They may
Mhm.
not interfere at all. So it's a partnership. Some sponsors you work with very well. That's ones you won't.
Oh yeah, and that's something like I've been so far from the PRs that I've worked with, and I'm gonna say Anna too. You know what I mean? She's been, uh, I've been kind of not hounding her, but I keep emailing, hey, I'm an indie podcaster. Let me know when I could ever get a shot. You know what I mean? Here I am. I'm talking to you tonight, and it's like an amazing thing. Like I just keep knocking on a door. Some of them just keep shutting on me, but I don't give up.
Yeah, you keep going. If you enjoy doing it, and you'll do it for free for a while, and then one day something will happen, and you'll become a celebrity, and people start paying you.
Yeah, you know what? I do this because I love doing it. I love talking to everybody. Just like how you do your music, you enjoy it, you love it, and
I,
that's what I
I
love.
I enjoy it, but there's a goal. You have to know what your goal is. Our goal is to get radio play. So
Hmm.
I write songs that will get radio play. Most musicians, sometimes they're not sure of their goals. So they
Yeah,
never get radio play. So that's not where their attention goes. And they don't have a lot of success. So you have to really define your goals. If you define your goal as like, I just enjoy it and I'll do it for free, that's all you're going to get. I mean, you really have to set your goal like, I enjoy it. I'm doing it for free right now, but this is what I really want.
my dream is to get sponsored, but also to be a mainstreamer, like as big as some of the top names up there with podcasting and radio shows. Like
Maybe.
I,
Yeah.
so I mean, I have that goal, but like right now, I'm almost celebrating 2 years now that I'm doing it, and I keep knocking on the doors. I just don't give up. So I keep knocking on sports teams, musicians, actors. It doesn't matter if you're the best actor or the lowest rated actor. You know what I mean? Like I take on the challenges, and that's what I love to do. You know what I mean? It's to show people all avenues and talents that I do have of talking to somebody. And like for me, I don't have 90 questions. I improv it, so I just go with the flow of the conversation, like we are right now.
Yeah.
I try not to make it feel like you're on 20 minutes here and you're answering 30,000 questions. And that's the difference between me and some other podcasters. Like I just let it flow. And that's something, like we're talking tonight, you have done so much. You are an inspiration to a lot of people, you know what I mean? And for me to hear how you are as an independent is amazing because, John, you've gone through a lot from starting as a child till now. And, and people need to recognize that a lot. And
Well,
that's something people don't realize.
it helps to have a mentor, somebody that they can take you and mentor you through the way of getting to where you want to go. Because if you're on your own, it's difficult. You'll make mistakes. You make a lot of mistakes, but
Mm.
having a mentor or somebody who's done it before, you'll make fewer mistakes. And with a good goal in mind, you probably get where you want to go.
It's funny. I don't have a mentor, but I actually do go through a lot of my shows and I'm like, oh, stop doing this. Like I actually dictate my shows after I'm done and I actually look through them. And And then I get people who actually send me some ideas, you know what I mean? Like that's where this live event's coming alive now, you know what I mean? Someone asked me, "Why don't you ever do a live event? I think you would be perfect." I go, "Me? Hey, you know what? I'll try anything once. Listen, I could be the best live event or I could be the biggest flop. I
Well,
don't know.
your mentors are your other podcasters. Talk to them, listen to them, interview them.
Oh,
You
I
know,
have. I
yeah.
have. And
They're-
and they loved what I've done. Especially in the network that I'm in. Matter of fact, I'm on New Jersey's only internet radio station, so it's a free thing. So they have music, all of the state of New Jersey and podcasters from New Jersey. So with me being the one podcaster that goes outside New Jersey to interview people, in Nashville, in California, Canada. I even had some stuff go from Europe right now. You know what I mean? I'm all over the place. And that's what I love to do.
Excuse my cough.
Oh, no problem.
I've had allergies, bad
They're
allergies here,
they're bad this year, so I trust me, I understand totally.
so I get the cough. Yeah.
Now,
Anyway,
no, go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
no, that's all right. I got Pepper here right here. She's
Pepper J.
full of knowledge, Pepper J. Because as an artist, you got to have somebody like a manager, producer
Hmm.
to do everything. Somebody was talking to me earlier about booking me different places. I said, you got to talk to Pepper. I said, I don't know that stuff. Like I just do what I'm told. You're performing here, performing there, and I go and do that.
No, 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 that I understand. Like that's good to have somebody like that, as Pepper J, to be there for you to help you out too. You know what I mean? To say, hey, you're gonna perform there tonight, and then 2 days later you're going over here. Because uh, for me, it's like I actually have my calendar book to see where I'm at with everybody. You know what I mean? To see how things are, because as a podcaster that's starting to grow a little bit more here and there, you know what I mean? Like I've noticed I'm growing a little bit more. I'm getting more interesting people to come on. And one thing I've learned is one thing is the respectfulness that I received. And like tonight, we're both on the same page. And I feel like I've known you for a couple of years right now, the way the conversation is, because it's just a free-flowing conversation. And I hear Pepper J in the background, I mean, she's there too to help there for you too, and that's something I appreciate, that because you don't see that a lot anymore these days. It's their agent, hey, there you go, you do this, you do that, but she's there to guide you in the way, and a lot of people don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you guys been working together, you and Pepper J?
30 some years,
34, almost 35.
35, 34 years.
All right,
Yeah.
so you guys have been working together for a long time. So there's a good bond and between the both of you guys, a friendship bond and working together very well.
Oh yeah, and and you'll find that it used to be that many of the comedians and actors in the older days, they found that one manager, that one agent, they stuck with him all the way.
Hmm.
And as they become more famous, they stuck with him. Today, an artist will jump from one person to another person as they go up the ladder, and that's not a good thing because you have to show some type of loyalty.
That is true. Loyalty is a key thing, and one thing I know I have is I have a couple of friends who are very loyal, which they're there to support. And I'll say this, my wife is the biggest one, and with my two kids too. Actually, I should say three of them. My
Oh,
wife and my two kids, they support me on this journey that I've done, and without them, I wouldn't be doing this either.
right, yeah.
You know, I mean, and then you have a ton of singles. I will say that. I can name a few, and which I will. I mean, Dust Off 2011, Don't Fall Between the Daylight 2011, Wide Mama Lie.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great songs, John. I mean, when you hear your stuff on the radio, how do you feel? I always have to ask this question.
Well, it's the first time is always the most exciting. The first few times, you hear the song, you be driving down the road or something,
Mhm.
or someone driving up next to you and your song's playing on the radio. It's kind of overwhelmingly, surprisingly hard to accept, sometimes. Like that's me. I remember when I wrote that song, I was in my bedroom. It's a wonderful thing. It doesn't make it on its own. You got to make it happen.
Mhm.
But it's nice when it does happen, and and no matter who you are, everybody has their first time. Paul
Right.
McCartney talking about the first time they heard their song. The Beach Boys were talking about the first time they heard he pulled over Brian Wilson, had to pull over to the side of the road because they're playing his song.
Mhm.
It's exciting, to have that. And it's always exciting. We were with our Uber driver today, taking us to the Hard Rock Cafe. And he goes, "So what are you doing in town?" I said, "I'm just doing some recording." He goes, "Oh, you with a band?" I said, "Well, not really, kind of. Well, what's your name?" And I said, "John Michael Ferrari." And he goes, "Oh, I've heard of you." You know,
And that's kind of
you know,
cool
so
with that.
yeah. So it's nice. Then he said, "Can I take a picture with you?" And I said, "No."
No, you did not.
It's kind of funny. I took a trip here in Jersey. I had down the shore, and it was kind of funny. Someone goes, "Hey, you look familiar." I'm like, "Oh, I get that a lot." He's like, "No, no, no, no. You have a podcast, don't you?" I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah." It's like, "Oh, you're that guy, Sleevy G." I'm like, "Holy Christ, how did you know?" You know what I mean? Like, I was incognito. I didn't have anything on me saying, that. It's like, "No, we know you look." And they were following me on Instagram. And, it's kind of cool. They're like, "Oh, can we take a picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" You know what I mean? Like, that was like, my wife always said, it's like, everywhere we go, somebody from Jersey. I'm like, "I'm sorry. I was a likable guy." So, like, I'll bump into somebody, but to someone know who I was through, social media and the podcast was for me was like a huge high.
No, it's good to be recognized. Yeah.
It is, and getting the recognition is one thing, you know what I mean? And we do recognize all the stuff that you are doing, John, you know what I mean? Um, with all different genres, you got the country, the pop, the country, the Christian songs too. You've done some great songs for the veterans too. I know that. You've accomplished a lot in your musical career.
Well, I've done a lot, but Pepper's made the connections in different directions.
Hmm.
And how to get on the charts with Christian songs and pop songs, country songs, and it's hard to do crossover. They call it crossover music,
Yes.
the pop charts and the country charts. And most of the country stars are only on country charts. The
Hmm.
pop stars are mostly on pop charts. But there are certain entertainers that are on both charts.
Hmm.
Glenn Campbell, Kenny Rogers. There's certain people, and I'm fortunate enough that I recorded in Nashville, but I do pop music, but it's soft pop. So we get both played on country stations and pop stations
It's like,
and Christian stations. Yeah.
And that's a great thing. Actually, hey, Pepper J, why don't you come on the screen here for a second? We hear you in the background. Why don't you come on for a minute here? We'll
yeah.
get you on here. How you doing tonight?
Okay, this was not intended. Hello,
No,
how
no. I
Hey,
figure,
thanks so much for having us on your show.
oh, not a problem. I figure, let me get you on here for a minute or two too. You know what I mean? We hear you in the background. We might as well get you on for a minute or two. As we're helping John through his career, your connections are like pretty much everywhere, I'm assuming. You know what I mean? Like, how hard is it to make those connections? How long did it take you to get all these?
Jay, I think in any profession, listening,
Hmm.
showing respect, appreciating people's talents, communicating with people, making human contact with strangers. John always tells the kids, always talk to strangers. Yeah, because, if you're only talking to your friends and family, you're not growing in different things. I mean, be safe, of course,
Hmm.
but I think that that's the way to do it. I've been producing since I was 8 years old
Oh,
and
wow.
been producing with John and his music and other artists' music since 1990. I think it's important to understand your artist, understand what they're about musically
Hmm.
and branding, and then guide them gently in the direction of what they want. John is pretty much straightforward, as a matter of fact. His goal was radio play
Hmm.
and making money.
Yeah.
So that's what he wanted to do. So we put the songs in radio format, rock, country, and pop, have 2 or 3 formats that are acceptable. And
Mhm.
yet some of his uh, tracks on the different albums are just what we used to call album plays, just
Mhm.
extra. So on the CDs, but like a radio format would be usually under 4 minutes, not necessarily, but usually. And he has a song, Peggy Sue's, on his second album, Be the Smile on Your Face, which is 6 minutes and 32 seconds, not for radio play. And yet, all through Australia and New Zealand, they played it and used 2 radio song shots. So you never know. It's like man plans and God laughs. I was very lucky to work with John because he's an extraordinary writer,
Mhm.
unbelievable. Sometimes God will just say, "Here, take this," and he just has to write it down or start strumming it and recording it, and it's just like a big gift from heaven. And sometimes he gets an idea and he'll have like a verse or he'll have a bridge or a hook, and he'll live with it for a while and put it away. And we have folders and folders of unfinished songs that, once in a while we'll go to. And I think this phrase that you used over here might go good with what you're going now. So it's pretty easy to work with someone that's really, really talented. I've also recently worked with Sophie Love, Sophie Love.
Mhm.
You can look her up like on Spotify
I definitely
and
will, and I'm going to make sure my listeners do too.
she just turned 19 and she has she's like a Roxy bluesy rock, I guess
Ooh.
you'd call it. And her release was called Let's Run Away. And again, it's easy to work with people that are talented. So be
Mhm.
careful who you choose to promote.
No, I get you. I mean, like I said, I've been blessed that all my guests have been amazing, like you guys, and I am Pepper J. Sorry, I appreciate you coming on for these couple minutes because you know what, it's
Sure.
it's great to see this because a lot of people don't realize how the connections are made, don't realize how much work you got to put into it. Like I've learned that in 2 years. I'm sending emails to people to give me a shot. Hey, one time, that's all I need. If I don't feel like I represented your clients well enough, then I totally understand. You know what I mean? But I don't
Right.
give up, and that's something to have this opportunity tonight to talk to both of you guys is it's a great honor for me.
You're right. Perseverance is the key. What I can suggest to your audience is research what you want to do.
Mhm.
Find out who's doing it and what they're doing. If you have to have a meeting with someone, go through their social media and the different articles about them. What kind of clothes did they wear? What's their style? How do they talk? Try to familiarize yourself before you just going blank into someone's office or studio or someone. And just be yourself and enjoy life.
And best advice I think I've ever heard in a long time. I'm going to be honest with you.
Thank you so much, Jay, for having us.
I know. I mean, John Pepper J, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Like I said, I was going to keep it nice and short for you guys because I know, you guys got a lot to do, and I got to thank you guys both from coming on. Before we definitely sign off, is there, anything you'd like to know what's going on for 2025? Anything new coming along, or?
Well, thank you. www.johnmichaelferrari.com, John Michael, AEL, and Ferrari, like the car, but unfortunately no relation. But that'll lead you to all of his music. His music is on all music platforms around the world.
Mhm.
And it'll lead you to his social media. Follow, share,
Yeah.
like, all those things that the kids do.
Not a problem, and I will be doing that for you guys too, so no
Thank you,
worries.
Jay, very much.
So,
Thank
guys,
you.
thank you guys for coming on. And as you can see, guys, hard work, perseverance, dedication, and also doing your research is always key. And here they are, they're living proof of it.
Mhm.
So, guys, I gotta thank you again for coming on. And like how I end my show, it's nothing but love, peace, and happiness, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.